India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a two-day visit to the United States. This is Prime Minister Modi's first visit to the United States after President Donald Trump assumed office for the second term. This is the second leg of his two-nation tour. This marks his first visit to the US since Donald Trump's second-term inauguration. The visit aims to strengthen India-US relations, focusing on key areas such as technology, trade, defense, energy, supply chain resilience and global security challenges, highlighting the depth of the bilateral partnership. Prime Minister Modi is staying at the Blair House, the historic guest lodging for dignitaries visiting the White House. During his 36-hour stay in the US, Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to hold bilateral meetings with President Trump. This is Prime Minister Modi's first bilateral visit to the US since Trump was sworn in for his second term and places him among the select few foreign leaders visiting Washington within weeks of the new administration's inauguration. Prime Minister Modi is the fourth foreign leader to meet Trump in the White House in less than a month after he took office for a second term. He will also meet several members of the Trump's cabinet as well as US business leaders and members of the Indian-American community. Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a warm welcome from the Indian diaspora. Members of the Indian community waited at the hotel to have a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi. Braving the chilly winter, members of the Indian community gathered outside the hotel chanting Modi, Modi and waving Indian flags to greet him. The Prime Minister also reciprocated their affection and spoke to the members of the community.
अनुभव जो है बहुत ही अच्छा रहा। ये कहें कि विश्व का सब कुछ मिल गया। मोदी जी ने हमें आशीर्वाद दिया और भारत के प्रधानमंत्री जो कि इतने सुलझे हुए, इतने पहुंचे हुए, इतने कर्मठ इंसान हैं जो लाखों करोड़ों भारतवासियों की दिन रात सेवा कर रहे हैं, ऐसे महापुरुष का आशीर्वाद पाकर जीवन धन्य हो गया।
बहुत अच्छा लगा मोदी जी से हाथ मिलाया। मोदी जी ने बहुत खुश हो गया देख के मोदी जी को।
बहुत बढ़िया है। हमें उनसे मिलकर बहुत खुशी हुई। इतना थक गए थे तो भी उसने टाइम निकाला और सब लोगों से मिले और अच्छी तरह से बात की और हमारे कंसर्न सुने और बहुत अच्छा लगा हमें।
We were waiting for him, so we got to see him very close. So I really am liking it. Like see him so close, it is really nice.
It's all worth it. Like 5 hours we are standing in this weather. It's freaking cold and we are freezing, but it's all worth it. Just one glance of him and he's so nice. Like, you know, we just love him.
US Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Modi fondly recalled his earlier interactions with Gabbard. The discussions touched on enhancing bilateral intelligence cooperation, particularly in counter-terrorism, cybersecurity, emerging threats and strategic intelligence sharing. They also exchanged views on regional and global developments of mutual interest, reaffirming their commitment to a secure, stable and rules-based international order. As India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Washington to meet President Donald Trump, DD India's Amritpal Singh sent us this report on what is on the table when the two leaders meet.
When the two leaders meet at the White House, they would be looking at trade, investment, economy, defense ties, energy partnership, security partnership, the strategic partnership, the comprehensive global strategic partnership with the focus on the Indo-Pacific. As you know, India is hosting the Quad Leaders Summit this year, that would be key on the agenda. Immigration would be key on the agenda. There are issues on which there are convergences, so the effort would be to build on those convergences. On issues where there are divergences or which require realignment or reset or readjustment, say issues like tariffs, the two sides would openly talk about that. The White House press secretary made a statement saying that reciprocal tariffs could be invoked by Donald Trump on countries, though she did not name the countries. Of course, there are concerns in India about it, though India has not been, named right now, but there are concerns. So I think the two leaders will be openly talking about that.
DD India's Amritpal Singh also sent us a report on what Prime Minister Modi's engagement looks like apart from his meeting with the US President.
His first bilateral meeting was with Tulsi Gabbard, who just got confirmed as the Director of National Intelligence, though Tulsi Gabbard has been an India supporter all through. Of course, the issue of illegal migration would have figured in the talks between the two sides, between Prime Minister Modi and Tulsi Gabbard, and his other meetings you mentioned, Elon Musk, though there is no official confirmation as of now. But yes, apart from the Dodge chief, he's also a business leader. The other meetings could be with cabinet members of Donald Trump's administration, but also, business leaders, where Prime Minister Modi would, convey that India, given its growth story, given the growth opportunities and the business opportunities that India offers, it is in the interest of both countries and businesses from the United States to invest in India and, gain or benefit from the opportunities that a growing India offers to the world, and not necessarily at counter purposes. So I think he shall be putting out during his bilateral meetings that the idea should be to explore areas where the two sides can cooperate and not be at cross purposes.
Still with the United States, President Donald Trump plans to announce reciprocal tariffs on every country that charges duties on U.S. imports. The president has already stunned markets by announcing tariffs on all steel and aluminium imports beginning on March 12th. Last week, Trump imposed an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods effective from February 4th, with Chinese countermeasures taking effect this week.
But we'll be signing reciprocal tariffs. The world has taken advantage of the United States for many years. They've charged us massive tariffs that we haven't charged them.
Further, US President Donald Trump made phone calls to Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy as part of efforts to resolve the Ukraine conflict. Trump directed officials to begin discussions aimed at ending the conflict, marking a significant step in diplomatic efforts. We have a report.
Donald Trump's calls to both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in separate phone calls on Wednesday as efforts to end the Ukraine conflict gained traction. The US president has set the ball rolling as he instructed officials to begin talks on ending the conflict. Trump said Putin wants the war to end, and they discussed getting a ceasefire in the not-too-distant future. The Kremlin earlier said Putin and Trump had agreed to meet. Trump said their first meeting would probably take place soon in Saudi Arabia. Trump announced that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff could lead negotiations on ending the war.
And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelenskyy wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
Trump and Zelenskyy spoke after Trump's call with Putin.
Very substantive negotiations with the United States of America. I had a good, in-depth conversation with President Trump, and I appreciate the President's genuine interest in our shared opportunities and how we can bring true peace closer together.
The development followed announcement by U.S. Secretary for Defense Pete Hegseth that Kyiv would have to give up its long-held goals of joining the NATO military alliance and regaining all of its territory seized by Russia.
We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement.
European powers, including Britain, France, and Germany, said on Wednesday they had to be part of any future negotiations on the fate of Ukraine, underscoring that only a fair accord with security guarantees would ensure lasting peace. Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance will hold talks on Friday in Munich Security Conference. Bureau Report, DD India.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has stressed that Ukraine must be part of any peace talks and that a final deal to end Russia and Ukraine conflict must be enduring. The statement follows US President Donald Trump's announcement revealing that Washington and Moscow had agreed to begin immediate talks on Ukraine during a phone call with Putin. Mark Rutte made these remarks ahead of day 2 of the NATO defense ministers meeting in Brussels.
We all want peace in Ukraine, rather sooner than later. We all want Ukraine to be in the best possible position when those talks start, to make sure that they can be concluded successfully. And as also Pete Hegseth said yesterday, the new American Secretary of Defense, it is crucial that whatever comes out of those talks, it is durable, it is enduring. No Minsk III. We cannot have that again. We cannot have Putin again trying to capture a square kilometer, a square mile of Ukraine in the future.
Meanwhile, Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson stated that Ukraine could still join NATO in the future provided it meets all the necessary conditions.
Well, as far as I understand, the U.S. position from this administration is that this is about claiming that NATO membership should not be part of this political agreement. I don't foresee the NATO membership as such being off the table for Ukraine. Our position is well known and communicated, and we stand behind what was said at the Washington summit, of course, that Ukraine's future is in NATO.
Next, in the latest update in the Israel-Hamas conflict, Hamas does not want the Gaza ceasefire agreement to collapse. Hamas said this in a statement that it will continue implementing the Gaza ceasefire deal, including a hostage exchange within the agreed time frame. Earlier, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said that if hostages are not released by Hamas by Saturday, there is no ceasefire and the conflict will resume. Speaking during a meeting with military leadership, Katz said that the new Gaza conflict will be even more intense. Back to Europe, at least 20 people were injured after a car plowed into a crowd in Germany's Munich on Thursday, according to the local fire service. The incident comes just days before a high-profile security conference set to host US Vice President J.D. Vance and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. A large-scale police operation is currently underway near Munich's central train station, with authorities investigating the cause of the crash. In Africa, M23 fighters and Rwandan troops pushed further into the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The advance of M23 rebels into East Congo's South Kivu province could trigger a humanitarian catastrophe in an area already housing thousands of displaced people, said Provincial Governor Jean-Jacques Purusi Sadiki. According to United Nations figures, about 3,000 people were killed in days of violence that preceded the capture of Goma, the capital of North Kivu province.
We are fearing a humanitarian catastrophe should the war attend this place. It will be really a big tragedy in the sense that North Kivu has a lower population compared to South Kivu. South Kivu we are turning around 2,800,000 citizens, whether Goma is less than 1 million. So 2,800,000 citizens is huge. And the attitude of this population is South Kivu population resistance.
You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. The first part of Indian Parliament's budget session to conclude today, the new income tax bill tabled in the lower house. Indian Railway is set to launch train service between Katra and Srinagar, marking a significant step in connecting the Kashmir Valley with the rest of India.
Clean energy is the future for sure. We are still not able to produce enough energy through renewable sources yet. But why is it so, and how can we change that?
We introduced solar-powered streetlights, cutting consumption by 5%. Then I had the government build green homes fitted with solar panels, making us more energy independent.
The panels contain a lot of rare commodities, and you can save a lot of energy if you use recycled materials.
We run off hydropower or wind power, so the electricity we have is sustainable and renewable. So of course that's the most sustainable we can do.
When it transforms and translates into results that is tangible, they can see the difference that it makes to their environment. It's a huge thing.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. Updates from the Indian Parliament now. On day 9 of the budget session, the first part, significant developments unfolded in both the houses of Parliament. In the lower house, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman introduced the Income Tax Bill 2025 and recommended Speaker Om Birla to refer it to the Select Committee of the Lok Sabha. While in the upper house, replying to the general discussion on the Union Budget 2025-26, Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the goal of the budget is to accelerate growth, secure inclusive development and invigorate private sector investments.
Estimates from the NSO has said that India's economy will grow by 6.4% in real terms and about 9.7% in nominal terms. So the budget this year, we have kept our goals in such a way that we are able to accelerate growth, secure inclusive development, invigorate private sector investments, uplift household sentiments, and also to directly or indirectly enhance spending power of the Indian rising middle class.
The report of the Joint Committee on the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024 was tabled in both houses of Indian Parliament. In a landmark development for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Indian Railways is all set to launch the much-awaited train service between Srinagar and Katra, marking a significant step in connecting the Kashmir Valley to the rest of the country through a seamless rail network. The project is in its final stages of completion, and preparations are underway for the grand inauguration. Visitors and locals alike are brimming with excitement. Many believe that this project will not only bring economic growth to the region, but also provide a convenient, world-class travel experience. Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi flagged off the first train of the third Kashi Tamil Sangamam from Chennai Central Station, carrying 200 delegates as part of the cultural exchange program between Tamil Nadu and Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh. The program coincides with two significant events, the Mahakumbh at Prayagraj and the recent consecration of the Ram Janmabhoomi temple in Ayodhya. The delegates will have the opportunity to participate in the Holy Snan at Sangam and visit the Ayodhya temple. The initiative builds on the success of the Kashi Tamil Sangamam 2.0, which was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in December 2022, marking the first ever real-time app-based Tamil translation of the PM's speech for the Tamil delegates. Moving on. Europe's annual airport passenger traffic exceeded pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels for the first time in 2024. Joining us with more on that is DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu from Berlin. Chiponda, what were the trends?
Thanks for having me. Well, European airports welcomed 5 billion passengers last year. Now, that is according to the trade association Airports Council International Europe. That number was actually higher than the previous year, and it is 1.8% more passengers than in 2019. So air passenger travel numbers here in Europe have recovered to pre-pandemic times. But the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the industry on the continent. The latest figures show that about half of Europe's airports are operating below pre-pandemic volumes. The European aviation market has been transformed, and the recovery isn't even across the entire continent. The growth in the number of passengers was actually driven by a rise in international travel. European domestic air travel remains below pre-pandemic levels. And there are even countries, of course, where it is declining. And this may also help explain why so many airports, especially the smaller regional airports, are operating below pre-pandemic volumes.
Okay, so how are Europeans choosing to travel, Chiponda?
More people are taking trains instead of flying when traveling domestically. And that is definitely the case in the EU's two biggest economies, Germany and France. Air traffic is still below pre-pandemic levels in both countries. In 2023, the French government banned domestic short-haul flights for any route with a rail alternative. And here in Germany, an air traffic tax that went into effect during the first half of last year has made flying more expensive. But those aren't the only factors contributing. Costs for fuel and labor have also been rising for airlines. So those higher costs are being passed on to customers who are then more likely to take the train if it is also cheaper. And it's also worth mentioning that travelers are also more conscious about their carbon footprints. Many only fly when they have to. So there are, of course, many contributing factors to the decline in domestic air travel in Europe.
And what can we expect from the industry?
There are different trends on the continent. A lot of the growth right now is coming from Southern and Eastern Europe. And Eastern Europe now has more and more people who want to fly. Southern Europe, on the other hand, has been getting more tourists. And that's been the case for Italy and Spain, which are, of course, the EU's third and fourth biggest economy. But while international travel has helped buoy European air travel passenger figures to pre-pandemic levels, the region does face some headwinds. The conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East has led to the closure of some airspace. And some airlines, including Germany's flag carrier Lufthansa, cut some Asian destinations in 2024, for instance. Now, having to avoid Russia's airspace has meant longer flight times, and that has made those routes less profitable, especially given that some competitors from Asia continue to fly over Russia. So geopolitical tensions and wars will also continue to play a role in the industry's future.
Okay, thank you very much, Chiponda Chimbelu, reporting from DW Berlin. And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. A military fighter jet crashed into the San Diego Bay in California on Wednesday. The Coast Guard said that both the U.S. Navy pilots have survived after being rescued by a fishing vessel. The cause of the crash is under investigation. The Democratic Karen Buddhist Army, an ethnic armed group from Myanmar, handed over 260 people from different nationalities to the Thai army. The individuals are suspected to have been entrapped in the illegal online operations in Myanmar. 4 people were reported dead, while 26 others have been injured in a suspected gas explosion in a departmental store in Taiwan. The blast occurred at the 12th floor of the building, which was closed due to the ongoing construction work. Search and rescue operation is underway to search for more victims and survivors. And with lava flowing from the new Boko Nuova crater, smoke plumes rising from its peak, Mount Etna was put on an enthralling display. The tallest volcano in Europe was the subject of ongoing seismic activity. Mount Etna frequently erupts but infrequently causes any damage. With the earliest known observation dating back to 425 BC, it is said to have the oldest documented history of eruptions of any volcano. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.